everyone, welcome back to Moral Mondays. So we're going to talk all this week about peace, the peace that surpasses understanding, a covenant of peace. We're going to go into all those things this week. So I just wanted to share with you today something that the Lord spoke to me years and years ago when I was a teenager. My mom and I used to live in an efficiency studio apartment. So we lived basically with our beds about 10 feet from each other at all times. And we lived like that for 15 years, from the time I was 14 till the time I got married. And that was very hard during the teenage years, you know, when kids are growing up and they're basically learning how to be independent. And, you know, what we call a rebellious phase is really children starting to break away from their parents to learn to be who they're supposed to be. And so we obviously, of course, always pray that that is a peaceful transition. But there is a reality to that, as we grow up and mature. So I just wanted to say that when I was going through that time period, it was very difficult because when you live in a small space with your mom and there's no other place to go to have peace, to have space, to get any personal time or whatever, it was very, very challenging, to say the least. And my mom and I, we fought quite often. We fought about important things and we fought about stupid things like what TV show to watch and when the TV should go off. And remember, I was not just in high school, but also in college during this time. So when I had to study or, go to sleep and, every semester your schedule in college changes, and so sometimes I'd be awake at night, sometimes I'd be awake in the morning, and it would just be a little bit of a mess. And so every time I changed, she had to change, and it just brought forth a lot of conflict. And anybody who knew my mom knew that she was a very bold, stubborn kind of person. I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, as they say. But she and I, sometimes we had some knockout, drag out fights. And so why am I bringing this up? Because it was at some point when I think I was around 19, 20, something like that, when my mom and I were just having our fight and having our big argument. And I know that the Lord spoke something to me from heaven. And it's something so obvious, something so clear to everybody. But when he spoke it to me, it changed my life forever. And what he said to me was this: don't let the devil rob you of your peace. That one little sentence, don't let the devil rob you of your peace. It literally changed my life. It wasn't the fact that my mom and I didn't necessarily have disagreements or fights anymore, although they were less to a certain extent. It was that when we did, I didn't view it the same way. I didn't take to heart everything that she said wrong or everything she said right. And, it just didn't affect me the same way that it used to. That I made a conscious choice. It was my will that I was not going to allow whatever was going on, whatever drama llama was around me, whether it be my mom or someone else, or school or work or, whatever it was. I wasn't going to allow that to take something from me that was mine, that God had given me. God had given me peace. He had given me the Prince of Peace in Yeshua. And I was allowing the devil to take that from me. We know that the Bible talks about that we do not fight against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and rulers of this dark world. And having that awareness that the devil is trying to bait you constantly, especially right before Shabbat. And all Messianic believers and Jewish people know this, that the devil is just out in full force right before Shabbat to make you crazy, to rob you of the peace and the rest that God wants to give you. I made a conscious choice that our disagreements or arguments weren't going to affect my character, my personality, my spirit, my attitude. It wasn't going to affect me. And I'd like to say to you, wow, it was so hard. I had to work so hard at it. But the truth is, it wasn't hard. It really was very easy. Once I made that conscious choice that I was in control of my mind and my body and my spirit and how I perceived the events going on around me, I was in control of this. That it wasn't the events that were controlling me. It was how I was perceiving them that mattered. And once that realization opened my eyes, the Lord really spoke that so deeply to my spirit, everything in my life regarding arguments has changed. And that doesn't mean that I'm not affected from time to time when I have an argument with someone or a disagreement, and it hurts my heart because I don't want there to be brokenness in the relationship, you know? So I feel that, you know, as a person and as a believer, you know, I want to be in right relationship with everyone. But I can say that it doesn't affect me in the same way that it used to. It doesn't get to that deep place that it used to get to before. That it seems like there's something that's insulating me from that. It's amazing how much spiritual maturity has come from this. How much grief it has saved me over the years. Thank the Lord that I learned this sooner rather than later. Although I would have much rather have learned this even in my younger years. But this truth has really ministered to me, and I hope it's ministering to you. And so I just want to give you another illusion here. You know, when the devil comes and he tries to bait us and he says, you know, come and play my game. Here's my dice. Why don't you come and play with me? And, you know, and we often say, okay, let's go play, you know, and not realizing just what's at the end of that. But here's the reality when we play the devil's games. He's the one, since he made the game, who made up the rules of the game. And just like when you play at Vegas, the house always wins, because they're the ones who are making the rules. They know all the tricks and all the ins and outs of every little game. They know how to get the upper hand always. That's why rarely do people ever go to Vegas and win anything. So I just want to say that the same is exactly true when we play the devil's games. When we play his games, he pretty much always wins because he knows all the tricks. And the reality is what God was speaking to me by saying to me, don't let the devil rob you of your peace, was what he was saying is stop playing his games. Don't play his games. Just don't play. Guess what? You don't play, you can't lose. And that realization was just eye-opening for me. So the devil has been baiting you and saying, hey, you know, come play my games. You know, come hate this person. Come be angry at that coworker. You know, come be upset with this relative or whatever. Don't play his games. Just simply don't play. Because here's the beauty of the thing. When you play the devil's games, you always lose. But when you play God's game, you always win. When we remember that the earth is the Lord's and its fullness thereof, what can't we lose when we're with the Lord? There's nothing that we're going to lose when we're with the Lord. But when we play the devil's games, he stacks the deck against us. And we always lose. So if there's an area in your life where you feel like a loser, and I'm just going to be perfectly frank about it, whether it be in your relationship, your marriage, whatever the case may be, where you feel like you're a loser, I can pretty well guarantee you, somewhere in that, you are playing the devil's games. Because with God, he only churns out winners. And that's just the truth. So I hope that that's ministering to you. Come with me to Psalms. I want to read you this verse here from 37:26, which says, though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. Walking in peace with the Lord doesn't mean you have all the answers. No. It means you know the one who has all the answers. Walking in peace doesn't mean that you're not going to have conflicts with the people around you. It means that you know the one who can bridge every gap for you. Walking in peace doesn't mean that you can control every situation. Come on, ladies, you know what I'm talking about, especially. You got to give up that spirit of control. Walking in peace doesn't mean you can control every situation. That's not what peace is. When you know that God holds your hand through every trial, when you know that he has given you the tools, that you can trust yourself. Hear what I'm saying to you. Trust yourself, because the Lord holds your hand, that there is nothing you can't go through. You can release yourself from that spirit of control, from that spirit that wants to rob you of your peace. You can let go of that. Trust yourself. Trust that the Lord has given you the tools, the equipment to be able to handle every trial he brings you to. Trust yourself. Trust that the Lord has given you those tactics and those strategies, and you can't lose. So when God spoke that to me, it was as though I had an insulating shield, an invisible shield that just protected me from whatever venomous thing someone was trying to say to me. Because, let's be honest, when you're in a heated argument with someone, sometimes things come out that shouldn't. And we should all learn temperance and walk away. But let's be honest, we're human, and sometimes things come out that shouldn't. And sometimes things come out that are really poisonous. The devil knows how to hurt, And sometimes he whispers in your ear and you say something that's really, really hurtful. But I felt for me, like I had this invisible shield. Like it didn't matter what people were saying. It was just bouncing off. And I want you to know this same kind of peace too. This reminds me of a very famous Bible story that I hope you're familiar with, but even if you're not, I'm going to tell you about it. It's actually from the book of Daniel. And it's really amazing story within the Bible. So let's read it together and then we'll go through it. Daniel 3. And in the story, Nebuchadnezzar, who is the king of Babylon, wants everybody in his kingdom to bow down to these idols that he has made. And he basically sends out a decree that says, well, if everybody doesn't bow down to these idols, they're going to be thrown into this big fire pit. Well, there are 3 Jewish guys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who say, I'm not going to do that. And so let's come to chapter 3 and read with me. So this is Nebuchadnezzar who says, and who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? So you see here, Nebuchadnezzar challenges God. Well, God always meets his challenges. So here's what happens. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. Isn't it so amazing? They basically say to the king, listen, we don't have any need to fight with you, to argue with you in this matter. We know who God is. And this is exactly what I'm saying to you, that when God says to you, I want to give you my peace, when he speaks to your spirit, don't let the devil rob you of your peace. You're going to respond just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Say what you need to say. It's not going to affect me. I know what the truth is between me and the Lord, and I have peace with him. I have peace in my heart because of it. So let's continue in the story. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and the fiery furnace was exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, True, O king. Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego came from the midst of the fire. And the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose body the fire had no power. The hair on their heads was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of smoke was not on them. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own. Therefore I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. How amazing is this story? It's one of my favorites. Not only were they not burned in the fiery furnace, their clothes were not singed, and even this, they didn't even smell of smoke. Now, my mother used to smoke 2 packs a day for years inside that efficiency apartment, and sometimes I'd walk in from going from school and you could see the cloud of smoke in there. It was like a thick haze, smog, like like in LA, you see the pictures of the smog. So the fact that they went into the fire and came out and didn't even smell of one hint of smoke is just, it's the detail of God that's so beautiful here. And I just look at this story and I say to myself, you know what? How awesome is our God? We can walk through the fire and we cannot, not just not be burned. Our clothes won't even be damaged. We won't even smell like we were anywhere near the fire. How awesome is that? God is amazing. So I just wanted to say to you to have peace in your heart. Do not let the devil rob you of your peace. What God wants to give you is the peace that surpasses understanding. The peace that, as he was the 4th man in the fire, our Messiah Yeshua, that he held them in his hands. That he gave them peace, that he gave them amazing knowledge to know that God was going to deliver them. No matter what. No matter how it looked to the outside world, God was going to deliver them. What an amazing peace to have. That when we do not submit to the devil, when we don't play his games, he delivers us out of every trial. So much so that we don't even smell like smoke. That is so beautiful to me. And so when God wants to give that insulation to you and to give you that invisible shield as he gave to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when he gives you that wisdom and that knowledge to know that if you walk with him and you're at peace with him and you do what's right in his sight, what can the devil do to you? Absolutely nothing. Even at the mouths of the idolaters will God make to say, who is like your God? There is no one. So I hope that encourages you today, and I'm actually going to play a song for you here that a dear friend of mine wrote. He's a Messianic singer and songwriter. His name is Philip Stanley Klein, and he has since passed away. He's with the Lord now, but he was a wonderful, dear soul and a good friend, and I'm going to play his song for you here because I don't think he would mind if I played his song, given the copyright issues or whatever. So I hope it ministers to you. And I'll put the links below where you can purchase some of his songs and some of his albums to at least bless his widow. So I hope that what I've said has ministered to you. God bless you, and see you tomorrow. Bye.
Nebuchadnezzar sentenced 3 of our brothers to be burned to a cinder, but he forgot the power of the Lord our Creator, the one who made us his own. So in the furnace went Messiah our Savior, and he gave them his covering, and woe from their heads down to their toes. They were as cool as falling snow. See, if you trust in the Lord, obey your Creator, when the heat starts to rise, He'll move you out of danger, and you'll be free in the fire, washed in the blood, touched by Messiah, caught up in His love, burning within you. Trust Him more deeply than life. Nothing's more dangerous than going your own way. Who can you lean on? God is the only way. Knowing the strength in you and set you free in the fire. Now I'm free in the fire. Well, I was saved by a stranger, miracle maker. The Lord, He followed me, kept me from harm. When I ran out of road, He filled me up with His heart. Now I'll admit, I'm not perfect, no way, and I still walk the wrong way. And I've been burned so many times, I can't sit down, because it's smart. Lord, it's smart. But if you trust in the Lord, obey your Creator, when the heat starts to rise, He'll move you out of danger, and you'll be free in the fire, washed in His blood, touched by Messiah, caught up in His love. Burning within you is to trust Him more deeply than life. Nothing's more dangerous than living your own way. Who can you lean on? God is the only way. Knowing the strength in you set you free in the fire. As long as you live, you're gonna feel the heat. The devil's waiting to set up your defeat with every dirty trick he's ever learned. But God is with you. You can't be burned. Oh, no, no, no. You can't be burned. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Free in the fire, washed in the blood, touched by Messiah, caught up in His love.